These men of the Allied spearhead have had years of intensive training preparing them for the invasion of Europe. Nothing was needlessly left to chance. Clean, well-oiled guns were soon to be used in real war by some of the men for the first time. The cold steel was given a killing edge, an edge that would shave the moustache off anybody. Meanwhile, down the roads to the ports went convoys of amphibious ducks. Along the highways of southern England marched and drove the invasion forces. Thousands of ships lay waiting at anchor. Only 1 year ago, no such concentration could have conceivably escaped attack. Never in military history has any campaign been so long anticipated, so much discussed, so thoroughly organized as the Second Front. In the high spirits of free men launched on the grandest of all crusades, the trained soldiers of democracy left the shores of England. For all who had so long awaited the event, this was indeed an hour of triumph. Over the channel there was heavy cloud. Already poor flying weather had postponed the invasion 24 hours, but now the great trifibious operation was underway. Through the cloud gaps, the airborne spearhead saw something of the Indian armada. 4,000 ships and thousands of smaller craft were heading south. The apparent impotence of the Luftwaffe made the barrage balloons seem superfluous, but no precaution was neglected. That the vast convoy should sail unharmed to the coast of France was the Royal Navy's determination. The greatest amphibious operation of all time was got underway. When it was barely light, the men of the airborne arm boarded the gliders and troop-carrying aircraft. More than 1,000 planes were used by this section of the invading forces. It was far and away the largest airborne operation of the war. These were the men, their faces blackened now the color of chocolate, against whose assault the strongest coastal defenses would avail no more than bows and arrows. Ahead of the glider train, as the South Country passed swiftly below, went U.S. Liberators and medium bombers. Their mission carried them far beyond the beaches to attack the marshalling yards, necessary to the enemy for the rapid switching of his reserves. At this stage, every advantage lay with the defense. Against withering fire from well-concealed German emplacements, only the highest courage and determination could avail. Onto French soil, which the enemy had had 4 years to fortify and which his troops stubbornly defended, strong Allied forces had been firmly placed. The Nazis, knowing that with each passing hour their chance of flinging us back into the sea diminished, bitterly contested these early landings. It was of no avail. When the time came for the paratroops to bail out, only a very small percentage of the troop carriers had been lost. It is largely owing to the success of the airborne arm that in little more than 12 hours the Allied beachhead spread 13 miles wide and penetrated 10 miles in depth. The men of this newest department of the Army are trained to act independently. With great effect, they proceeded to carry out their general instructions to harass the enemy and destroy everything German within sight. Supreme Commander Eisenhower made his long-awaited broadcast to the people of France. This was the hour for which the oppressed millions had prayed for years.
A landing was made this morning on the coast of France by troops of the Allied Expeditionary Force. This landing is but the opening phase of the campaign in Western Europe. Great battles lie ahead. I call upon all who love freedom to stand with us now. Keep your faith staunch. Our arms are resolute. Together we shall achieve victory.
Vessel flag.
When the beaches were no longer under fire, the Allies brought the heavy equipment ashore. Bulldozers, essential for constructing the vital airstrips, took high place in landing priority. In these shattered defenses of the Atlantic Wall, many Germans were found dead, some killed by the blast of heavy shell fire. Survivors received prompt attention from the medical corps. They had good reason to thank their stars for a narrow escape. Yard by yard, the Allies fought their way through the villages and small towns. Many still arrogant Nazis, reluctant to put up their hands, were among the early prisoners. A lot of the captives were very youthful. Initial landings, we had taken 10,000 prisoners. As fighting men, the Germans here do not compare with Rommel's veterans of the desert. That is the verdict of old Eighth Army men. There's much hard fighting ahead of us, but it's impossible that the German army is not weakened by the disastrous campaigns in Russia and the fact that it's been fighting on one front or another since the war began.